I'm going to call this meeting to order of Legislative Committee, 5:30 p.m. Chairman Hyde, would you mind saying the invocation for
Be
us?
glad to. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for the many blessings to us, and we come to you tonight as we enter into the county business here. We ask for your patience with us as we sometimes disagree and debate issues. We just pray for your patience and your kindness and direction, that we will do the best things for this county and in the service of your kingdom. We pray in thy name. Amen.
Amen. Have a motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Rogers, second by Commissioner Brown. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion for approval of minutes.
Motion.
Commissioner Klein, second by Commissioner Brown. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Seeing there is no recognition of the public, we will close that. Report of the chairman, I have none. Report of the county manager.
No report, Mr. Chairman.
Old business. Item A is discussion on the resolution clarifying ownership, routine maintenance, support services, and funding for the Hendersonville Library. Mr. Law Director, do you have anything?
Yes, we're trying to finalize a quick claim deed right now. I believe the county's in agreement to give us possession for exchange of complete maintenance and upkeep of the facility.
So you're saying Hendersonville is going to deed the property over to the county? Is it?
Myself and the city attorney are finalizing a quick claim deed to do exactly that.
Okay, so Hendersonville is wanting to do that, just an affirmative, obviously, so. Okay.
I've had, it's working that direction.
All right. I will just, okay. Anything else we need to do on that, other than just keep it on old business, I guess, for next month, and see what happens?
No, sir.
All right. Any other questions or discussion on that from anybody? Make a motion for discussion.
Motion for discussion.
Second by Commissioner Teachner. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Mr. Chairman, were there any other, we had talked about certain specifics about keeping open more hours, and I was just curious if any of that was part of the discussion.
I don't know, we haven't, that wasn't a part of legislatives, I wasn't in agreement, so I know that, that was something I believe, Commissioner Shope had mentioned we'd look at during the budget cycle, but we're still, part of that process, so, Mr. Law Director.
I was instructed that that would not be conditional upon those terms. I conveyed that to the city attorney, and we're still going down the roads of having it quit claimed to us. So I explained to them that those are actually budgetary items that would need to be done through the budget committee, and that it would not be conditional upon the transfer.
Okay, so there are no conditions at this point?
No, sir.
Great. All right, thank you.
All right, any other discussion or questions surrounding that? All right, we'll move on. Second item has been on here for a while, the discussion for County Parks and Recreation Board. I know Chairman Hyde brought that forward and kind of just pulled back on that, but I know we wanted to have some time to look at it. But I personally was thinking over this. This is not something that I voted on for the previous commission. I'm in favor of dissolving this board and not having another government board. That's my opinion, versus retooling or redoing anything. But I'll make a motion for discussion.
I'll second it.
And all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Commissioner Klein?
Well, I really think the idea is a good one, because we have enough areas that could be parks in the future. Now, maybe we don't have anything that could be considered, but we do have properties. And I'm just wondering if, looking down the road to the future, if it makes any sense, or is this not quite ripe yet for something like that? As it proved,
This board was created in order to get money, a matching grant for that park at Liberty Creek.
Okay.
That's the only reason this board was created.
Okay.
As part of that, they hired, I think it was a GNRC, I think it's about $100,000, if I'm not mistaken, to do a master parks and recreation board plan about all the greenways, walking trails.
Right.
And obviously, my sensitivity to this issue,
Right.
Commissioner Holmes's sensitivity to this issue, and at the time, both myself and Commissioner Taylor, and I'm pretty sure Chairman Hyde, I'll speak for him, and a couple others, one is the GNRC doing it and telling us how we're gonna grow and plan, which we were not in favor of. Two, it was, all these roads were leading to eminent domain greenways, and development, and specifically for the area of Cottontail, which is part of the master plan from the Long Haul Pike Quarter Plan. It's even, I think it's even on the 2035 plan a little bit, definitely on this master parks and recreation plan. I know that it was 5 years ago, I think they got a notice, not 5 years ago, I think 2015, 2016, or 16 and 17, those 2 years, the county mayor put in an application to do grants for sidewalks, greenway, on Upper Station Camp Road. And it failed, it got rejected by the state twice. But at that time, it was $100,000 per tenth of a mile.
Mhm.
So $1 million to go a mile with sidewalk / greenway. And that was 10 years ago, it was 8 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago. So to me, I just saw this as a Pandora's box and personally an open door for expanding that to yet another government board, that when we're looking at county properties, that's kind of falls under the purview of General Operations Committee.
Mhm.
And the care, that control and the care and custody of the county mayor, as far as executing things, and being the caretaker. I still personally at this point don't see a need for a county parks and recreation board, given that we're not in county parks. Most parks are in the city.
And what about the Parks and Recreation Plan itself?
There was a plan during COVID, during 2020, and again, it was made, they had to do it to get $500,000 to go towards that Liberty Creek Park. So that's what it was for, was a matching grant, to match what Mr. Brown, his trust ended up leaving the county.
Okay.
So that's why it was created, back in 2020.
Okay.
So that's the whole thing.
The plan was created for that park.
Correct.
Okay, well, you're right, it may be premature and it may be totally unnecessary if General Ops does, manage that aspect of it, so. Okay, well, I'm fine dropping it.
It's just my opinion. So Commissioner Sugar?
I just have two questions. The first one is, when's the last time this board has met?
Evidently, they met a couple months ago.
Okay. Does anybody, were there any minutes?
I'm not sure. There's a board that was appointed in 2020, and it's just kind of like one of these, we've not addressed it yet.
Okay. And the second question is, if we dissolve this board, do we lose the ability to get, would the grant, would that go away, our ability to get matching funds?
My understanding is the matching funds have already been given, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, but do we have to maintain that?
I don't know, that's a good question. So, I'm not saying I'm making a motion for this, I'm expressing my opinion. But I still think the board needs to be retooled.
Does
Yeah.
the county mayor maybe know that? If we were to dissolve this board, would we be on the hook to?
I think it jeopardized the grant that's in place for that park project, yes.
I think it'd be more of a
It
question.
jeopardizes it.
I'd need to research that for sure.
I think that'd be more of a question for David Long.
Yeah, we can.
Finance director to look into, ask him.
Yeah, or I don't know if our law office would know the answer to that question.
Chairman,
I just wonder if we couldn't resolve that. In the first place, I'm for dissolving it, because if there's one thing we don't need is more bureaucracy.
Yes, sir.
But I'm just wondering, as a resolution to this, and not being punitive to the county, if we could not transfer the powers of the Parks Board to our General Operations Committee, at least temporarily, until we decide, and call that, let General Operations, if there's business, have a certain segment of their meeting for Parks and Recreation, until we decide what we would want to do further with it.
Mr. Law Director, that's something I guess we could look into. I don't know if that would be right for a motion or resolution at this point. I don't know, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we need a little research into knowing if there's any caveats to this. As far as, if do a resolution transferring, if you have to have this, can that be like a part of our General Operations Committee or an ad hoc committee off the general? I just don't know what the permanency of this is. If there is any financial implications with that grant. Again, this is 4 years ago, I think in August, when this came about. It's August, September.
I'm not gonna have an answer for you now because
Sure.
I gotta see how this does impact.
And I don't expect you
funding
to,
and
I just
everything.
make a notation as far as like what Chairman Hyde suggested. Is there if it's not a complete dissolution, is there a transfer of authority to the General Operations Committee as a subset?
This would not be anything different from what we've already done, because with the insurance board, we used to have different committees that would meet. We would adjourn one and meet with other groups from the same body. So it's not unlike anything that we've done before.
I don't disagree with that because we did the same thing with SIB. We consolidated but there's no grant funding and there's no collateral issues that are associated with it like there would be with this, with the Parks and Recreation Board and current funding that's in place. That's where it gets fuzzy for me.
Commissioner Cheatham?
I was just gonna say, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Wouldn't it also, like, it seems kind of appropriate that that's what I thought Tourism Board had something to do with also. I mean, it seems like it would be ultimately under General Ops. I would think that would be the ultimate, like, place, but Tourism Board, you would think would have something to do with it too if it wasn't city related. I don't know, it just seems like we've got, I don't know, it just seems like there shouldn't be committees for everything, so. that's
Commissioner Ryder?
Also, as legal don't have anything else to do, the Sumner County Health Committee may be tied into this because I know they do the walk across Sumner and the trash pickup day. So that may be something to do with the health department. Hal may want to check with him to make sure his grants aren't tied to this parks division.
I know it had nothing to do with the health department when this passed, so this was strictly created only for that park.
Well, I understand, but they may have, I just want to make sure that Hal and them hasn't said, hey, we've got to walk across Sumner. Now we've got this cleanup day that we can have across the county, and they've attached that somehow back to this park board. That would be a far fetch, but I just don't want some other department to lose money because we're dissolving something else.
I mean, I don't see the connection, because it wasn't the spirit of what, being here and voting on it at that
That's
time.
great.
So,
That's good.
Still good.
I would be good with dissolving this contingent on knowing, just getting an answer that it's not gonna, we're not gonna have to give up, some money somewhere. So I'd just like to, maybe we don't do anything with it, but if we can just get those answers for the next meeting and like put this one to bed. And I don't, if that's something for David Long, we can, I talk with him almost daily, so I can bring it to him. I don't, that's really the main answer I have. I just wouldn't want to like give away money.
I'm just, with Chairman Hyde on this, just another, bureaucratic body that's just, to me, is just causing taxpayers money and pain in some instances.
Yeah, it would seem to me that the first order of business is finding out if the Brown Park grant is in jeopardy.
Yep.
If we dissolve this.
And if it is, how can we?
Number two, get the minutes from
That meeting.
At least the last meeting, if not a couple before, and see what they're actually working on. Maybe talk to Ms. Norfleet and find out, because she is the expert on grants, if, this would jeopardize anything else we've got going, coming up, or could foresee in the future. And with that information, we would have a better idea of what to do with it.
Is that a motion?
I would make that as a
Second.
I don't think we need a motion for
Yeah.
evidence.
I've got it all down and I'll start researching it.
I don't think we need a motion.
Okay.
We're keeping it old
Keeping it
business.
old business.
Just,
Okay.
Get those answers and then come back.
correct. So just
Yeah.
ready to kind of like do something with this one. All right. That concludes old business. New business, veteran service report.
Good evening. Not exactly answering the prayer, sir, but we did have a lot of activities that I want to highlight this month where we were specifically helping veterans that had long-term struggles with the VA. We had one guy with an 18-month struggle. He started his own claims, and we helped him fix them and kind of organize some stuff, and he got a $72,000 back pay this past month from the VA. The second one, we had a vet who was in a 3-year lawsuit with a variety of different entities, including the VA. And we took a look and asked him to organize some stuff properly. And within a month, we had his service connection back to 100%. He's got health care through the VA for that. And the final one was the one that was kind of interesting. 55 years, the guy's been trying to work through a PTSD claim with the VA. And we were able to get it done in a couple of months.
Whoa.
So he's now at 70% and is enrolled in VA healthcare. So a couple of good successes this past month in terms of helping out our veterans in the county. We also had 28 in-county outreaches during the past month. We had one with the state. We presented to the Tennessee Commission on Aging and Disability to do some annual training, how to work with public guardians. And we started a national radio broadcast. We're doing a monthly segment on Reach Across America where we bust myths about the VA. So, that was it.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good job. Thank you. All right, item B is a resolution restating the non-discrimination policy.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Shove, by Commissioner Brown. Is that to accept it or discussion?
Accept.
Accept. Is there any discussion on this? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, item C is a resolution amending the
Move to
standing
accept.
rules and procedures.
Move to accept.
Motion by Commissioner Shove to accept. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Brown. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item D, a resolution to
Move to
establish a
accept.
snow smoking
Second.
policy in the Sumner County Courthouse this was brought forward by Judge Blanton. So we have a motion by Commissioner Shove, second by Commissioner Teachner. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item E, clerk and master bids at delinquent tax sales. So I have a motion.
Motion to discuss.
Motion to discuss by Commissioner
Second.
Shove, second by Commissioner Teachner. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Lauder, you have something?
This reads very cumbersome, but basically what it is, it's for us in these upcoming tax sales, delinquent tax sales, that the county does not want to, Oh, I'm sorry.
You're coming on the wrong one.
Oh, no, but we're on the right topic. It's we don't want to take ownership like we have in the past of all the unsold parcels, because we run into situations where if they're not of value, why does the county want to keep it on the books when it would stay under the books of the prior owner until there was a transfer or somebody deemed it of value and wanted it, and then they would negotiate the sale. And there's been they're not very common, but in the past there have been issues where some of the land the county took in different areas of the state was adjacent to or even part of like abandoned gas stations and things of that nature, where all of a sudden once the county becomes owner they take on the remediation of the gas project, and that's definitely something we don't want to be throwing dollars at if we don't have to.
So this stops us from immediately taking on these abandoned
Once the
properties.
sale's final, if there were no bids, then we're saying anything that is no bid is automatically deemed of no value, therefore the county will not take property without value. And we will not be listed as owners.
And it stays in the ownership of the person who is delinquent in their taxes.
And that judgment for the taxes could still be enforceable as well.
Meaning, county could then, you can still collect revenues, whereas we accept that we don't. And we're not liable for junk land that might, have problems. That's it.
Or
Correct.
remediation from a leaking
Correct.
gas tank or something.
So it removes that liability. as
Correct.
well as the
So
loss.
moved.
Oh, we got a motion to approve by Commissioner Rogers.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Klein.
I like this. I'm just trying to think through if there's any way that this gets gained. You see what I'm saying? So any way that this could get potentially gained in order to artificially reduce the value of a property?
Not this year, it won't.
No, I mean, this is one of these that
True.
the concept of it is, I'm 100%, I mean, I've said this many times when we were talking about the county taking over any number of properties, and we just, like, I think I said, do we have to take it out of a radioactive landfill? Like, I'm very much behind this, I just wanna make sure that there isn't any there isn't any way that this.
That somebody can intentionally devalue their property.
Yes.
Therefore, and cause it to be delinquent, and they just don't pay the
They
taxes.
don't
owe
pay
the
it,
property, so they
and
benefit
then,
from it.
like, in order to,
I don't.
I
At
don't
the
know
end-
why anybody would wanna do that, I just, sometimes things like this.
Well,
At the
country.
at the end of the day, the value of the property is what it is when it was going up for the tax sale. So if there were to be some transfer, the county's gonna have to get made whole because it's gonna be part of the closing, even if they go hunt down the prior owner.
Well, I mean, here's the scenario that I've got. Let's say I have some property, I wanna, and I'm literally playing this out while I'm thinking about it, so it could be wrong.
What's the address?
I've got, I don't have it.
Put it in your district.
I'm just saying hypothetically, if I've got.
It's probably in Millersville.
Hypothetically, let's say I've got property and I wanna deed it to somebody, but basically as a way to avoid taxes. I could.
Avoid whose taxes?
So I would avoid, let's say you have a considerable amount of property, you wanna transfer it like, as part of an estate.
It's not gonna change the value as far as the county's concerned.
Well, you can if you.
You're talking about IRS taxes, you're talking about
Yeah, I'm
probate
talking
escaping.
about, yeah, that type of thing.
County doesn't have a dog in that fight.
Well, I know that, but if I am able to devalue it over time, if I'm able to do something to it, I don't know what I would do. I mean, basically be kind of destroying my own property.
So if you
So
have,
that I could give it to somebody.
so a lot of junk cars and some gas spillage.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I mean, it seems
Campers,
like it's very,
mobile
very
homes.
unlikely to happen, but I mean, grew up in a trailer park, man. I've seen crazier things. I don't know. I'm probably for it. Can we get
Anything that's gonna devalue, it's gonna be something the county doesn't wanna mess with anyway.
Yeah, you don't have codes.
No,
You're talking about codes violations, we
Yeah.
can enforce the codes. I mean, the county's got quite a big stick in this fight to swing, so.
Yeah, but can I?
Commissioner Fisher, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was gonna say, I think what Commissioner Show's saying is, I see what you're saying, but it almost argues for the point he's making, I believe, because, like, I mean, just say that we had, toxic waste or something like that, and somebody, maybe they were skirting the line to the gray side, and dumping toxic waste. I'm just kidding. But there's something they're doing to devalue it in order, like he's saying, to where they don't have to pay taxes, but they still keep ownership of the property. And then, is there ever a point that there would ever be taxes having to be paid again? Because I know the county wouldn't want to mess with it, but if it's like a gas spill or
Somebody's
an oil
gotta
spill,
own the property.
but if it goes back to the person, is there ever a moment where that's going to bite us, where that people?
It's still the same remediation problem. It's still the same liability. Land in Tennessee cannot go unowned. There's never an opportunity for that to happen.
But they would still own it, though, wouldn't they? If we didn't keep it.
Yeah, they would.
Yes, and they would be on the hook for all the issues that tie with the land, but they would still owe the taxes as well.
The scenario I was given about was that person gives it to somebody else and gives it as basically a $0 transfer.
If there were taxes, they couldn't do that, or that person takes it subject to the taxes.
That's true.
Okay, I understand.
And whatever problems there are with the land,
I
too.
understand.
Yeah,
I understand.
I think this is probably good. I would like, I'm gonna move to defer this. I think I'm probably good with it. Is anything gonna break if we defer it for a month?
Nothing's gonna break, but
I've never heard of any of this being a problem anywhere else in the state for the
Yeah,
record.
is it being used elsewhere? Is this?
quite a few counties do that. It's for the very reasons we stated. I don't know where you're gonna come up with a scenario, but I welcome the challenge.
No, I mean, I think it's probably not. I just hadn't had a chance to really wrap my head
Chairman
around
What if the sky is falling? We could
That's every month.
chase this.
Every
We
Thursday.
could chase this all night, all week, all month. It seems like a simple thing, maybe.
Yeah, I think I'm for it.
Maybe my simple brain, I don't know, but I don't see us having a problem with
Who determines the value of the land?
probably assessor state.
Yeah, that's whatever, just
That's
like
what
our.
the reappraisal said. I mean, we were in the middle of the reevaluation.
I just, yeah, I would assume
Well-
they had the ability to analyze toxicity or would find a professional to look at.
So does that,
Code
would that
department
reset
would.
so let's say, let's play that out real quick. This may actually answer my question.
I'm good with that.
Let's say that land is valued at $100,000, but nobody bids on it for whatever reason. Does that land get reassessed down to zero?
No,
No.
none of that ever changes.
Just keeps accumulating.
It's just at the end of the day, you're
I think you'd
wondering
have a
who's
pretty
gonna
good
end up
case in-
paying
I
it.
think you'd have a pretty good case in court that it gets reassessed, that it would go down if nobody bids on it.
It's a personal
No,
judgment
that,
too.
that's a classic argument you get into with these, tax appraisal fights is what does the county say the value of the property is versus what can you sell it for? Those are two different, it's apples and oranges.
Well, but the definition of it, according to the state, is the assessment is supposed to be, in theory, what something would sell for on the
But
open
it
market.
doesn't dictate the free market and the sale of property.
I'll give you an example. I was talking with Mr. Linville. I mean, the state did the process, and they don't know Sumner County like our assessor's office does, and they were giving some crazy valuations on even empty lots that shouldn't have been there, you know, just because they didn't. I mean, they weren't. So it's like they're having to correct a lot of things and problems from the state. Mr. Hyde.
We got to remember too that assessments are not on individual pieces of property. They are gridded out all through the county. Your house is within a grid of houses within the county. And for the purpose of the general appraised value of the homes in that whole grid that you're in. So it's not on individual property as such.
Mr. Hyde.
I don't think there's anybody else in the queue. My remarks would be moved.
So, Commissioner Jones, you had something to say? Can you keep it
That's
brief?
what I was going to do.
Yeah,
Didn't know it was going to-
I'm actually on the delinquent tax committee, and we asked a lot of these questions in there, but basically, they're not losing any, the county's not losing any money because they're not paying their taxes anyway. And if the property ever sells to somebody, the person that buys it has to pay that back tax, so there's no risk there. They can always make a lesser bid, and it can come before our committees to see if we want to accept it, but that, you get a chance to vote on that too, so.
Make a motion we approve.
It's already a motion on the table by Commissioner Rogers. Did you second that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Question.
You calling the question?
And then,
Is there a second for that one?
No.
second.
I was the holdout, and I think I'm convinced, so we can go ahead and vote.
Is there any more discussion on that since that, which, I like that now. I mean, good try.
Sorry.
Make a motion, second your motion. All right, we got a motion to approve by Commissioner Rogers, second by Commissioner T-Shirt. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries.
One more question. I'm just kidding.
Item F, Historic Cottontown Post Office repealing and replacing resolution number 2304-18. Do you have a motion?
Motion to discuss.
Motion discussed by Commissioner
Second.
Klein, second by Commissioner Brown. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, floor is open. Would you like, Commissioner Klein?
I was so confused by the end of the general ops meeting last week on this. I think we were confused about the minutes versus what was being asked, why it came back from the commission to us. And I would like Mr. Sittler, if possible, to explain what transpired, what is different, what is the same, and just so that the next time it goes to the county commission, which presumably is next week, it's not gonna have any problems with it.
I guess, real quick to brief interject, last April when this was passed, there was an amendment that passed that basically kept the county from doing anything, and the thing's correct, it's like at least let the county mow it or go like take care of a dead branch or something.
Right.
I mean, that's the spirit and intent of,
Right.
okay, just make it clear.
Right.
Mr. Alder.
Okay, so the resolution was passed and had an amendment to it from Commissioner Wynn. There was a verbatim question, and as this went through Gen Ops, this ended up turning into making an amendment to amend an amendment to get the resolution back on the floor, to solidify that resolution, to turn right around and make an amendment to what got corrected. And by the time we got done with all of that, we simply said, let's rescind the prior resolution, let's just redraft this thing.
That's the correct way to do it.
So that's what's happened, but nothing has changed with the exception of two things. One is the rescinding of the prior 23, let's see here. Yeah, 230418, and the changing of the very last, be it further resolved, to what it was the county had passed to add to it the last time this was discussed.
So moved.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Rogers. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
I have-
discussion,
I
Commissioner.
have
Shea.
just an amendment, a very small one, it's just a word, and it'll be really pedantic. It says, whereas due to dire economic times, this body cannot force tax increases. It can, I would just like to change that.
Where are you, which, are you on
This
page
is on
24?
Page 24.
Can you speak up a little bit?
Yeah, so it's, second whereas says, whereas due to these dire economic times, this body cannot force tax increases on citizens. We can, I mean, by law, I would just change that to should not, instead of cannot.
Wish not.
Well, should not,
Second.
shouldn't.
Second by Commissioner Brown on that amendment, so changing cannot to should not.
Yeah.
All right, any discussion on that amendment to the main motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries unanimously on that amendment. Do I have a motion for the main?
I got one question. I'm making a motion, we discuss that amendment that just passed.
It's already passed, too late.
Can
We're on the main
I make an
motion.
amendment to the amendment? Or no?
Well, you can make a motion now to what's now the main motion. Because it's, now we're back to the main motion of Commissioner Rogers to approve this.
I think I'm just splitting hairs. There's no reason.
I mean, I was splitting hairs to do that, but
It's already passed, so
Yeah, it's
now,
good. It's
now we're on the
fine.
main motion
It says the same
to
thing.
include this, so that's, is there any, discussion?
I just want, nothing to correct about this, but we're in a dangerous territory here. Generally, not that anything that's being said or done or changed is wrong. But if you look at Robert's Rules of Order, it's the minutes, not anything else, that is the official record of a body. And what you could be getting into here, just for future things, as I see it, is what's already happened here is going back and, well, let's change this and let's change that. And this is not what happened at the meeting. So I just think we need to be very, very cautious is all I'm saying. Because if the body has met and approved the minutes and has said, these are the minutes, we approve them as a county commission. Those are the minutes, the official minutes. Now, someone had a chance at that time to speak up and make corrections or whatever. But if you go down this path too far, what you can have is all kinds of changes in actions and everything else of a body by changing the minutes, just a caution.
I'm glad you brought that up, because
It's a really good
a
point.
good point last month, once the minutes are approved, that's, I mean, once the minutes are approved, that's final. It's not what somebody says, not what the video says, it's not what the audio recording says. It is what's written in the minutes, and what's written in the minutes. And so, but with what, I think, if I asked the law director's office about this, the minutes didn't come out to they had to sign the resolution, but they didn't have the minutes at the time. So I think, I don't know if there's whatever discrepancy, but the spirit of what was being said was accurate, and the minutes said what they said. I wasn't here last week for the meetings with all this mental gymnastics and tomfoolery on the whatever's being said. But at this point, if you're redoing the resolution, I mean, or correcting it, I mean, I think it's, I'm glad to see we're just rescinding it and just replacing the language, because they're just getting rid of it. But I thank you, Chairman Hyde, for bringing that up, because that's a good point. Once the minutes are approved, that's what's final, you know, especially if the minutes of the language of the resolution was approved in those minutes, then there's no debate or discussion on that, of like who said exactly what from the floor. I mean,
Yeah, and my understanding, and correct me if maybe I misread this, I was correcting the one that we are rescinding and replacing with. I wasn't trying to go back and
Correct.
correct a previous one like that had happened before. I mean, I just noticed that.
With this, Chairman Hyde's point, this has got just a lack of parliamentary understanding and a lack of everything else. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Hyde. Am I speaking correctly on that?
No, that's right. I mean, you could get down to changing anything within it and say, I don't like this, let's just change the minutes here as we run it back through.
Yeah, once they're approved, it's approved. It's
It's a
official.
dangerous road to start down.
I agree.
I'm not saying that we shouldn't change this, but we need to be careful.
Well, this was the intent to go back to the actual resolution and rescind basically that restriction. I mean, I guess that's what the spirit of the intent of doing this, like correcting what was wrong. So, but then it got into this weird, semantics thing that wasn't parliamentarily correct. So, Commissioner.
I may be out of order here, and check me if I am, but if we could get the minutes immediately after, within the first week, and I know that puts a burden on people, but I just think that the minute taker,
Yeah.
it'll be more fresh in their mind.
Can you get that to us the next morning by 8
Right.
a.m.?
No, I'm not asking that, but
It's not a transcriber, it's a minute taker.
it would be really helpful, at least the general operations,
Well,
to have them sooner.
You do, well, I mean, you do have the minutes.
They have to be approved by the body, though. Sorry, I'm out of order.
So, it's.
Called himself out.
I mean, the official minutes have to be approved by the body, that's what they're presented, but, I mean, it's got kind of this weird vicious cycle, so. I mean, and you're not gonna get that approval the next month after you've already met, as far as.
Yeah, it'd just be nice to have them earlier than we get them, which is when the next agenda comes out.
But we digress, but obviously this was part of this,
Yeah.
what started
This
this
is part of the problem.
ridiculous rabbit hole. All right, so we had a motion, we had a motion to approve, and we had a second on that.
I have one question about this.
Okay.
Are we, and just legally, can I ask, is there anything out of compliance if we move forward with pushing this back through? I don't want to do anything wrong,
No.
accidentally or anything.
But the building's just sitting there anyway, so
There's nothing wrong
I
with
see
that.
no issues.
Okay. Yeah, you understand. I like what Mr. Hyde said, and I don't want to go back and start changing things.
All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, item G, discussion, paid parking and ownership of the
Motion to
courthouse
discuss.
garage.
Second.
Motion discussed by Commissioner Schoaf, second by Commissioner Rogers. All in favor say aye.
I don't want to get in queue on
Any
this.
opposed? All right, this came forth from General Ops last Monday. Commissioner Schoaf, are you?
Yes, I'd like to go to queue here, so I see this, and my thought is that this may be a good idea. I think in general, what we can potentially do here, I've said several times that I don't like joint ownership, sometimes it's necessary, but when you can avoid it, it's simpler to avoid it. And so, the way this is set up now is that we have joint ownership with the city of Gallatin for the parking garage. I think there might be an option here there would be an upfront cost to us out of capital. I'm just kind of playing this out, to finish the garage. Currently, we'd have to basically take on additional risk to finish this. Gallatin has given us some outlays. We would give those up, and then we would have sole ownership of the garage and could potentially use certain parts of it for paid parking and could recoup fees over time. I don't have an analysis of what we could potentially gain as revenue off of it, but
We've lost a lot of revenue on this project since it was started in 2017,
yeah, I mean,
18, 19. With overages.
The two positives I see out of this are, one, we avoid joint ownership, which often leads to problems. Two, we could end up, yes, we put a little bit of money up front into it, yes, but we could likely turn this into a revenue generating piece of property, which anytime we can do this is a generally good thing. So I think I'm probably for something like this. I would just want to get with Mr. Long and figure out some numbers on it.
Chairman Hunt?
The reason I suggested this is some of us had kicked around after I had brought it up a way of making money as a result of this garage, and we were talking about $5 and $10, which is funny money when you talk about parking. And I'll give you one example. A parent told me this weekend that when the Merrill Hyde Magnet School went down to Hume Fogg and played basketball at 8th and Broad, downtown Nashville, for the basketball game, their son paid $45 to park. So parking is not cheap anymore. And you have people in town that want to park, secretaries, clerks, merchants, doctors that want to park during a business day. I'm like Matt. I think it's possibly a positive thing. We may put up some money up front, but if you calculate 300 parking spaces or a little less times the potential money, I don't hardly see how you could lose.
My question is, a couple things, and I would be open to a motion to send us the budget for us to, because it really comes down to a numbers thing at this time. It's like, how much has Gallatin put in it already? What is, obviously, the price to finish it on the budget committee, $900-something thousand. What would it look like to, I guess, hire an attendant, I guess, probably be there, you'd have to look at that kind of an attendant cost or some kind of contractual with some organization, to be able to monitor that. How many spaces? All I've heard is, and I had a citizen reach out to me over the weekend, super just ticked about this whole courthouse stuff, and as you guys know, I didn't vote for any of this. In the parking garage, I know that there was a retirement senior citizen assisted living facility that lost their parking spot because of where this ended up. Because the first place the commission was going to put this was right there next to the library, and they were going to use eminent domain, but it wasn't very palatable after the eminent domain fiasco of trying to steal Commissioner Holmes's land in 2019 for greenways and sewers. And so they had a punt on that and go to the secondary location. But I don't know how many slots those people lost, and did somebody give them a contract to agree to give them slots? I mean, well, how was this parking garage set up? Was it set up to be just free to the taxpayers? Like we're just free, and we're the only government that I know in the state of Tennessee just gives free parking. I mean, which doesn't make sense to me when everybody else charges for it. But how much of that retirement community or whatever was there a contract? Can we see the contract? Where is the contract? Where's the obligations? And can we make those public to these committees as we're deciding these things? Go ahead, Commissioner Clark.
I believe that the retirement center, if I'm not mistaken, it was 35 parking stalls that they were promised. Now, I don't recall.
Promised by whom?
I don't know. That's what I don't know.
And is it in writing?
Not that I've seen, but I can try to find it. And present, a package if we have some criteria. The one thing I wanted to know from the law office is the title on that property actually showing that the city of Gallatin owns a percentage of the property, or was their $2 million simply a contribution?
My understanding it was a contribution, but I'm not 100% on that, but that's a good question. Is who owns, do we actually own that property? Steve and Eric, I guess, if you can research, do we own that property?
Because I don't know that they would have their name on the title, the city of Gallatin. But as far as free parking, that's what Franklin does. They have a parking structure right downtown. It's always free parking, and I think whoever conceived this parking structure, that's what they were thinking, that it would be along the lines of the.
I believe Rutherford's is also free.
Matches the courthouse.
Mm-hmm.
You said it matches the courthouse, or it's next to it?
Yeah, Rutherford's and ours kind of matched, so it's probably.
It was part of their outlay as well, I think.
Same scope project.
Commissioner Hunt.
you know, I'm not into free parking. If I have to park somewhere, I'll pay. And I think what we have done here is volunteered to build free parking for the city of Gallatin, is what we've done. And I would make the motion to move this forward to budget and let budget, I mean, it's got to leave this committee anyway, and let budget go ahead and get answers to some of these questions.
Motion and a second, Commissioner Rogers?
That's where I was going. I was gonna ask, you know, are we considering Wi-Fi? Are we gonna have closed caption TV or, not closed caption
we'll
TV,
put
but
together-
cameras and all that stuff?
We'll put together a business case.
Well, I mean, all that
That's
stuff
what
is
this
already,
is.
you're talking like, that's probably, is that not already in the garage already? Everything?
No, I think all it's got is like enough power to run lights and the elevator, and that's
We
about
can put
it.
together a very simple business case that says this is what our fixed, here's what our existing sunk costs are, here's what our fixed costs will be if we do this route, here's what our recurring maintenance fees, like.
Well, we really wouldn't have to have an attendant in there. We
Yeah,
could
that's
let the
what I was
orange.
about to say.
Well, yeah, you can do
So,
that.
but the point is, I mean, all this has a number that we can apply to it, and then
You
we
QR code
put
it.
a revenue on it, and you can build a P&L out for that piece of property, and we can build a business case.
So we have a motion and a second to send the budget. I don't know if I need to amend this, but to have these questions answered, verifying ownership, or should we just wait to do all that in budget? I mean, I guess we can do that, so, all right. I'm not gonna complicate this. Commissioner Clun?
The only thing I would say is that Mr. Hyde is correct. I know that, for instance, there's a parking structure in Nashville where the employees of the judicial building, they have to pay a monthly fee for a spot. So even the employees, because that will be one of the arguments that, well, I'm working at the county courthouse, why should I have to pay parking?
We can work through these, there are ways to work through all this.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion on that? Send it to budget. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that'll go to budget. We'll add that to the agenda tonight. Commissioner Schoaf?
Yeah.
All
Do
right.
we want to add it tonight? I mean, we won't be able to, I mean, I'll put it in and we'll move it on business.
That's would be my suggestion. Not that we can take it up tonight, but we can do, just to get it on the agenda.
Got it.
All right, recognitions and proclamations. I don't think there's anything to do with these A and B. To have a motion? Group and approved. Motion group approved by Commissioner Brown.
May I make one comment?
Yes, sir.
I am just really sort of saddened to see Danny Hurst. I don't know how many in here are familiar with Danny Hurst, but this man is probably one of the most unselfish, dedicated law enforcement people in Sumner County. And I just really am saddened to see that he's retiring.
Losing a good one.
So we had a motion by Commissioner Brown. We had a second by Commissioner Teacher.
Yes.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Zoning, again, this is just for docketing.
Motion to adjourn.
Got a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Rogers. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, meeting adjourned.